What's going on, guys? MariK here, and today we're going to be taking a look at what is arguably my least favorite mechanic that's been introduced in the Pokemon franchise. We've already taken a look at Gen 6's special, the Mega Evolutions, and Gen 7 special, or at least the trend that started with Gen 7, the regional forms. And now we're going to be taking a look at Sword and Shield's Dynamax, or specifically their Gigantamax forms. For those of you that don't know, I'm not the biggest fan of the whole Dynamax mechanic. I didn't enjoy it. It wasn't fun. Granted, nothing's ever going to be as great as Mega Evolution was, but Terrasilization's kind of up there, but Dynamaxing was just wasn't for me. As far as the designs go, though, Venusaur is not a bad design if he just wasn't a gigantic, dumb mechanic. I'm going to put him up in A tier because I don't think I like the design enough to put it in S tier. I know every lot, Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, they've all been S tier. And while this doesn't look a whole lot different than Venusaur, aside from the flower has just gotten so big that it just has now fell. Instead of it being, upright like a flower, it's just fallen over and it's just kind of draping over his whole body. It's not a bad design. It does look like a big-ass Venusaur, but it's kind of... It lost what made Venusaur to me. Then up next, we've got Gigantamax Charizard, and it's going to go in A tier as well. Again, it looks like a big-ass Charizard, except... unlike with where Charizard Y went, this one is kind of just an overinflated Charizard. It's just kind of weird. And overall, the Dynamax forms, they just don't have as much personality because they're just too busy trying to be these gigantic, imposing behemoths that's really all they are. Gigantamax Blastoise is also going to follow with the other Kanto starters in A tier. I actually like the design a bit better than Mega Blastoise, whereas Mega Blastoise has two cannons moved to his arms and then he got a third one coming out of the top of his shell, whereas Gigantamax Blastoise now has like all these almost like smaller turret-like guns that are now sticking out of his shell in all directions. It's almost like a mini like self-defense system. It's kind of cooler in a way. It's not as intimidating as the big giant Mega Cannon, but it's a little bit more practical. Then we've got Gigantamax. I'm gonna fuck it up every time. Butterfree. It's okay. I like it, but I don't know how many Pokemon I can keep putting in the same tier. I'm gonna put it down here in B tier. We're gonna try and be really hard on this one because you guys still are giving me shit for putting too many in S and A tiers. I don't hate it. It actually just looks like a really majestic Butterfree, but it's also just Butterfree. Like its wings are just really fucking huge, but otherwise its design is really not a whole lot different. Then we got Gigantamax Pikachu. This one has to go in A tier. It's not as good as the old original chunky Pikachu that we used to have, but it's close enough to get A tier. The weird like accordion tail that it has is just really fucking awkward, and the way they portrayed it in like Pokemon Journeys, it just looked really not right. Like it was too fat. Like it wasn't just, our lovable fat Pikachu. This was bloated, had too many burritos Pikachu, and it was close. It was close to bringing back that nostalgic fat Pikachu, but just not close enough. Then we got Gigantamax Meowth. This one's okay. It's just going to go in C tier. It just looks like a really fucking big Meowth that then got stretched the fuck out for I don't know what reason. I guess they couldn't figure out how to make it a gigantic Pokemon like Pikachu, so they just were like, here, we're just gonna stretch it out like it's fucking Silly Putty, and then that's gonna be our Meowth design. Then we got Gigantamax Machamp. This one, I'll put him up in B tier. He's kind of cool. I mean, Machamp is already, like, he's not a great Pokemon, but he does look cool. He's just this giant motherfucker with 4 arms. And this one is just a bigger motherfucker with 4 arms, but almost like his arms are, like, cracking and, like, there's magma in it. I don't know what the heck they're going for, because he's definitely not a fire type, but it looks cool. Then we got Gigantamax Gengar. I kind of want to put this one in S tier, but I don't know. It's not Mega Gengar, you know? It's like, I'll put it in A tier. While it is big and silly looking, which, you know, is Gengar's thing, it's not as, it doesn't feel as threatening as like Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar actually looks like it was scary, whereas Gigantamax Gengar more or less looks like one of those giant clown tunnels you would see at a carnival or something. Then we got Gigantamax Kingler. This one's pretty cool. I like the giant, you know, like, almost like it's just like a giant snow crab. He's got this big-ass beard for whatever reason that I don't know if it's supposed to be, like, sea foam or bubbles. One of his claws is fucking gigantic. I think we'll put him in B tier. It's pretty cool. It's a nice design. It's not anything super well done, but it's, I mean, it's just a giant-ass crab. I don't know what else they were supposed to do with it. Then we got Gigantamax Lapras. Again, this one's going to go up in B tier because I do like it. It's just a big-ass Lapras, but it loses the appeal that regular Lapras had for me, where it looked like, you know, an actual prehistoric creature, and this one, it looks more like almost like a snail, and I'm not a big snail person. It's still Lapras, but it's not my Lapras. Then we got Eevee, and I could almost put this one in S tier. I'm not going to because its design is just a big, it's literally just big Eevee. It's almost more of just a giant version of its original than Pikachu is, because where Pikachu, at least his tail got fucked up in the process, Eevee's just big and fluffy. It's just a bigger, fluffier Eevee, which isn't a bad thing, but it's also not very creative. Then we got Gigantamax Snorlax, and I think we'll put him in B tier. He just basically becomes a giant fucking version of himself, but then just to play off of how big he already was and how big he becomes, he suddenly grows a forest on himself with trees and everything. It's really goofy, but I can appreciate the concept because it's Snorlax. If it was any other Pokemon, it would just be really awkward. Outside of maybe Torterra, I could see that actually working since he already has a big-ass tree on his shell. Then we got Gigantamax Garbodor. I don't even know which way you're supposed to pronounce it anymore. I've heard it too many times both ways. I'm actually going to put it here in C tier because I don't like this Pokemon at all, but I do like the fact that his Gigantamax form is just such a giant pile of trash that there's actually like a fucking plane just embedded right there in the trash. It's stupid because of what it is, but I can appreciate that they tried something with it, and the plane is like, it's silly, so it adds a little bit of character to it. Then we got Gigantamax Melmetal. This thing, we'll go ahead and say C tier. I don't dislike it. enough to put it in D or F tier. But it's like, what the fuck happened to its legs? Like, out of everything else, it just transformed, and then its legs became really, like, thin and flimsy, and before he was just this gigantic, kind of hulking, whatever the hell he's actually supposed to be. Gigantamax Rillaboom, I'm actually going to put this one up in B tier, surprisingly, even to myself, because it's just a giant gorilla playing on an even more giant drum set made of fucking tree trunks. Like, the whole concept of Gigantamax is just kind of, I don't appreciate it, I guess you could say, but just the giant, like, almost like Donkey Kong Country theme of this Pokemon, I can appreciate. So it's won me over there with a little bit of weird, like, early, like, late 90s, early 2000s nostalgia, but it's still fucking weird. Then we've got Gigantamax Cinderace, and I guess this one can go in C tier. I would debated putting it in D tier. I guess we can put it in C tier. It's just kind of like, it's just Cinderace standing on a giant fireball with eyes. I don't know what it's supposed to be. I don't know why the fireball has eyes. Like, it would make sense for, like, Skeledirge, because the little fireball turned into a, you know, the egg hatched and turned into a little bird that sits on his nose. But Cinderace doesn't have that, so I'm not really sure what this is supposed to be. It's just, yeah, it's just a big-ass fireball with eyes. I don't know. Gigantamax Inteleon, on the other hand, you guys already know if you didn't. Before, it's going in F tier. He turns from a really fucking, like, weird, thin, snake-like lizard to then, like, his body is almost, like, serpent-like. It creates a fucking giant watchtower, and suddenly he has a sniper rifle. Again, what the fuck? What the like, first of all, Pokemon with items are already kind of weird, but when it's like, oh, it's a monkey with a stick. Okay, sure, I guess. Oh, now it's a monkey with 2 sticks. Okay, whatever. Where did it get a sniper rifle? Like, what part of a Pokemon transforming suddenly gives it a human fucking weapon of murder? What I don't understand. I don't understand, and it's dumb. Then we got Gigantamax Corviknight. This one I actually like a lot. I didn't think I did, but when you really look at it, it's just this giant-ass fucking black and red, I guess it's a crow, and his feathers, like, fly out like missiles. Like, it's fucking weird, but it's cool. It's just this gigantic fucking bird of death, which I guess is kind of what, you know, a Gigantamax Pokemon is supposed to be. We got Gigantamax Orbeetle. This thing, it's gonna go in C tier. It's kind of cool because it's like a weird UFO, but again, then it kind of brings me back to, well, I guess I can make more sense with a UFO because it does just look like a beetle shell, even though I think it's supposed to be like a UFO design, which still somehow makes more sense than a fucking sniper rifle. So I guess C tier because it doesn't look too terrible. Dreadnought, on the other hand, we're going to put him right there in C tier next to Orbeetle. He definitely got bigger, but it's just Dreadnought that just stood up on its hind legs. I mean, and we saw in Pokemon Journeys, you know, the motherfucker can stretch its fucking neck out like a hungry hippo, but that just makes it look even weirder, because turtles, I mean, they can a little bit, but their necks ain't that flexible. Colossal, is this the first one I put in D tier? I mean, I don't hate his design. I guess we'll put it in C tier, because again, it just looks like bigger version of itself, which that's kind of what Dynamax already is. When a Pokemon Dynamaxes, they just become a giant version of themselves, but when they Gigantamax, they take on a new form, but this one is also just a new form of the same fucking thing. It's a little different, but it's not enough difference to really get much credit for it. What is this? This is Flapple? Or... it's one of the Apple Dragons. It looks weird and super, like, goofy, cartoony. Like, it doesn't even... it looked like it... like, it gives me, like, vibes from, like it's from a Disney movie or some shit. And Lord knows there's enough goddamn little lizards and all kinds of shit in Disney movies, and they just look too cartoony, and that's kind of what this looks like. Then we got... what is this? Sandaconda? Is that what the thing's called? Or am I thinking of something else? This is just like a... it's like a tornado. It's like the snake itself turned into like a weird tornado of sand. Yeah, we'll put it in D tier just because it's weird to me. And there's a Silicobra. Sandaconda. What the fuck am I... is Silicobra the first one? I don't know, because I don't like the Pokemon either way, or its evolution, but this is like a weirder version of it that I don't know why it got a Gigantamax form out of all the other candidates that there were. And right next to it, we're going to get Toxtricity. I didn't really care for Toxtricity. I think I'm one of the very few people that just don't care about its design. And its Gigantamax form is even weirder. It lays down on all fours, and it grows a radio tower out of its ass. What the fuck is that about? It's just... again, it's one of those designs that I just can't help but going, what the fuck were you trying to convey? Going all the way back up to... I almost want to put it in A tier. I think I'll put it in B tier, but it's like a high B. Is Centiskorch. And basically he just becomes a very much bigger version of himself, but almost in like a serpent dragon way. And I know he's not a dragon, he's a bug, but he just looks like this giant... he almost has like... he could be like the red Shenron from Dragon Ball GT. Or even like Uriah from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. He just has that kind of shape to his body, and then he also has the fucking size on top of it, and he fucking spits fire, so... Hatterene, on the other hand, I don't really like Hatterene anyways. It's really... I don't like the Pokemon. I can appreciate what it can do, but as far as the actual Pokemon goes, I really, really don't like it. I'm just going to put it down here in F tier with Inteleon, but it's more just because I really can't stand the design. I can't argue about the design being stupid for dumbass reasons like a sniper rifle. Then we have Gigantamax Grimmsnarl, and I actually was going to put this one... I don't like Grimmsnarl. When we first were shown... what is it? Impidimp? Whatever the first evolution was. I was like, that don't even look like a Pokemon. It looks like something some fucking fan-made game made. Like fucking Snakewood or something. And I still don't like it. And I don't like Grimmsnarl either. But I don't hate his design, I just don't like it. This thing, even though I don't like the Pokemon, this thing actually looks kind of terrifying. Like, if you saw a giant version of this fucking thing, it would literally be nightmare fuel, like almost apocalyptic. As far as the rest of the Pokemon we've gone through on the list go, even Gigantamax Gengar doesn't look as terrifying as this thing. Like, it's actually like a demon straight out of hell almost. It's very fucking creepy. It's not cool enough to go in A tier, but it gets the respect enough to be in B. Then we've got, oh, what is this thing? Is this Alchemy? I think is what it's called. It's okay. It's just a giant fucking cake. It's just like a weird, it's like a weird Disney cake. I mean, I don't know. I'll put it down in D tier since I put the weird fucking Disney lizard and an apple down there too. I don't absolutely hate it, but it's just like, it's like a weird cake that came out of like Beauty and the Beast or some shit. Then we've got Copperaja. This one I'm actually putting in D tier because I don't like it. And I specifically don't like it because Copperaja is, you know, like a giant elephant, almost like a woolly mammoth type thing. And then this thing, it stood up. Why? It stood up and then its trunk got so long that it goes to the ground. And it makes like now it looks like a half elephant. Like, it's just fucking weird. Copperaja was not my favorite design, but it was an okay design. This just ruined it. Duraludon, this thing's gonna go in D tier as well, and he's lucky I don't put him in F tier, because fucking A. Duraludon, first of all, as a dragon, he looks nothing like a dragon. Charizard fans are gonna love me when I say this, but Charizard looks more like a dragon than this fucking thing. And then on top of that, I've been waiting for a cool Steel Dragon Pokemon since we got Dialga. Except, you know, I wanted one that was cool and not a legendary and, you know, was actually playable. And then they gave us this thing, and I'm like, that's stupid. Oh, but it transforms into a giant version of itself that's now a skyscraper? Fucking, what? So, did Dynamaxing not start until we were in the 20th century with skyscrapers? What the hell? Where did this... And then now we've got its evolution in Gen 9 that it evolves into a fucking bridge. When it's on all fours, it's a goddamn bridge like the Golden Gate. And I'm gonna stop right there. It's dumb. It's in D tier. And we've got Ushi... Why do I forget the fucking name of this thing every time? The thing that evolves from Kubfu. He his Rapid Strike and his Single Strike. One's red, one's blue. They have different, like... I don't want to say it and offend someone because it's the wrong art, but one of those physical art poses. And I don't care for the Pokemon that is the Gigantamax is okay, but it's not anything for me to put any higher than C tier. And then lastly in D tier is, nope, D tier, no, you're going in F tier, is Eternatus. I didn't like Eternatus to begin with. Like, he looked so shitty in Pokemon Journeys because he was just this garbage-looking, CGI-looking shit that just was so out of place. It's like when they started adding CGI to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Animation and everything just looked weird because it was two different types of animation. And this just took it to the max. And then on top of that, Eternatus's... Yeah, that's the way you say it. Gigantamax form is just dumb. Like, it's the same thing, but then it's like bigger and like turned into like a squid. Like, I don't know. It's dumb. I don't like it. I didn't like Eternatus. But hey, look at that. On the plus side, we put none in S tier, and so nobody can yell at me. Although I'm sure somebody's going to yell at me anyways because this list is so based in their opinion. And we're going to get yelled at no matter what. But I didn't put any in S, so you can't yell at me for too many in S tier. I don't know. I can't win for losing, but I can lose for winning. So that's going to be our tier list of the horrible mechanic that came from Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield. If you have any issues with this list, you can feel free to let me know in those comments down below. And perhaps we can have a civil conversation about it.